Good afternoon, Victoria County. I would just like to remind you all that KView, Kicks, and Magic 95 are also airing this live right now. For any local information regarding COVID-19, please visit victoriatxoem.org or call our hotline at 361-580-5796. That hotline runs Monday through Friday from 8 to noon and 1 to 5. As of right now, there are no new cases of COVID-19 in Victoria County, and we are not under a curfew or a stay-at-home order. Our local officials believe the current measures we are taking should sufficiently stop the spread of COVID-19 here, while allowing us to balance our community and business needs. Judge Zeller and Mayor McCoy are in constant contact with our health officials and command staff, and they continue to evaluate all information relevant to COVID-19. So that they are prepared to act if and when additional actions are needed for the best interest of our community. Today we have Dr. McNeil, our local health authority, and Dr. Quentin Shepard with VISD to give you some updates, and I'll now turn it over to Dr. McNeil.
Thank you. Good afternoon. I only have a few things to update today, and then it's my understanding that we'll be around for questions afterwards. The COVID-19 count in Victoria County still remains at 3. And we still remain very vigilant in our testing, and we're also looking and following a lot of patients closely. We will certainly update you if that number changes, but as you know, it's been 3 for several days now, and we're happy with that. We've had some questions. There's been a lot of questions, and they give me a list of things here and that basically look at the types of questions that the people out here want to know about, so we're going to address some of those. One of the first questions is when we talk about the Golden Crescent region, and exactly what does that mean? Because if you take a larger area, then of course there are going to be more cases. So I want you to know that when we say the Golden Crescent region and we speak about our region, we're talking about the counties of Victoria, Calhoun, DeWitt, Goliad, Jackson, and Lavaca counties. So in those counties, in the ones that I'm talking about, we currently have 11 confirmed cases. So 11 confirmed cases in the region that we are examining. Now, as far as advice for workers, there have been a lot of questions about workers traveling in and out of our region. That's a big concern, and that's a big question because we have people that travel back and forth. I know people that work in Houston and drive back and forth on a regular basis. So there are people that are coming from areas where COVID is more prevalent, so we're always vigilant about that as well. As far as workers and as far as everything else, it goes to our basic message: stay at home if you can, practice social distancing, and always remember to wash your hands and keep yourself healthy. Monitor yourself for any symptoms, and if you develop any symptoms, specifically fever, cough, shortness of breath, flu-like symptoms, then seek help immediately so that you can be tested if you meet the criteria. Our community orders, let's talk about this. Our current community orders limit social gatherings outside of the home. And we've talked about that. We're going by the governor's rule of groups of 10. We want to remind people that we're talking about outside of the home, but to keep yourself safe, you need to think of inside the home as well. That doesn't mean that you can't have 10 people outside and you can go inside and have a barbecue with 20 or 30 people at your house. You remember, you're putting yourself at risk for this. This is for your own safety, so please try and limit social gatherings and try and stay in groups. And even if you are in groups like that, please remember to practice social distancing and stay at least 6 feet away from people. Remember, this disease, folks, is transmitted via droplet therapy and is transmitted by people with symptoms. So stay away from people that are coughing and stay away from people that are sick whenever possible. We also talk about people that are traveling from high community transmission areas such as New York, California, and New Jersey. There have been several that have been listed by the federal government as places to watch for. There are people that have family members up there that may be coming down here, and there are people that have had family members that have traveled there that are returning. Please remember that if you have been in one of those endemic areas, that you should isolate yourself for 14 days when you get back and self-monitor. The rule is self-monitoring in that case. In other words, if you start to develop symptoms, seek help and get yourself tested, and we'll help you with that. We have our testing pod open. We tested 32 people yesterday. We have several more scheduled. We are doing that on Tuesdays and Fridays, and it's working out very nicely. The rules as far as getting this done, remember, you have to have an order from a physician, And that physician needs to get that set up for you. And we have given that information to everyone, and of course we're available to help the physicians get you scheduled. So there are also several of the private clinics that are doing this, and they're doing a fine job. The labs have all stepped up. We're testing a lot of people, and we'll continue to test people. One of the things I will mention that I was going to talk about at the end of what I'm speaking about today is that I was very excited to read today that there is a new rapid on-site test that was given emergency approval by the FDA yesterday. This is a test. It's basically, I'd been talking this whole time about wanting to have a test like our flu test. You can go to the doctor, we can do a swab, we stick it in the machine, 10, 15 minutes later you get a yes or no on influenza. They've developed a test for COVID. It will give you a positive result within 5 minutes, and it can be done point of care. It's made by Abbott. I can say that because it was on the press release. And from what the press release said, that they will be manufacturing 50,000 of those units a day starting Monday. They also claim that they will have 5 million commercial tests available for use with this by the end of April. So that's a big change. That's a game changer in this when we're talking about testing and the ability to test people. It will be a lot easier to get testing at that point, and it'll change everything, I think. Some of the other things that I wanted to talk about, it says on here hydroxychloroquine, and then they should put in parentheses, do you want to address that? So yeah, we'll talk about it. Okay, so hydroxychloroquine, there's been a lot of talk about this, and these are the drugs that have shown some possibility of helping with the COVID infection, okay? There are several hundred studies going on right now, and there are some things called compassionate use. In other words, when patients are critically ill, there are a lot of physicians that are saying that they're using this in combination with azithromycin. These medications have not been approved by the FDA, but they are being studied very closely, so it's something on the forefront. In everything we're doing, we're trying to find ways to combat this illness. So this is just something that's coming too. So they're working on that. Make sure that you don't make the mistake of thinking that chloroquine or some of these other drugs that are used for industrial purposes, like cleaning algae out of your aquarium, don't take those medications. They're not approved for preventative. They're not approved for human consumption, and you should not take them. I have to say that because there are people that have done that, and there's been at least one fatality from that I know of nationally. Make sure that also, too, one of the things that is coming out a lot on social media is making your own hand sanitizer. The FDA has issued a statement on that, and they don't recommend that people make their own hand sanitizer. Soap and water still works. Keep your hands clean and practice the things that we've been talking about. Basically, those are the main things that I wanted to talk about today. I'm told that I'll be back or I'll stay here, and then we'll answer questions afterwards. And I'd like to have the honor right now of introducing Dr. Shepard. He's going to talk about the latest stuff from VISD. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And good afternoon. I'm going to cover 3 main areas today in my comments. So I'm going to start with nutrition, then I'm going to talk a little bit about technology, and then lastly I'll wrap up by talking about our education plans for next week, the week coming, and then certainly we'll take any questions at that point. So for nutrition, during the first week of food distribution, that was this past week, we served at VISD more than 27,000 meals to our children throughout our community and surrounding areas. That's just an amazing lift, a nearly heroic effort by our nutrition staff, and just want to honor and compliment those folks for the work that they did this week. That was 27,000 meals this week alone. Starting on Monday, March 30th, VISD is revising the meal distribution schedule to reduce the number of interactions and to add more flexibility and convenience for our parents. So our new pickup days will be as follows. On Monday, we will be distributing breakfast and lunch for both Monday and Tuesday. We'll then distribute again on Wednesday, and that'll be breakfast and lunch for Wednesday and Thursday. And then on Friday, we'll distribute breakfast and lunch for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. The distribution sites are going to remain the same, so that'll be Allo Elementary, Crane, Hopkins, Roland, Shields, and Stroman. There's no change there. However, there is a change in the pickup window for the food. That's going to be from 9:30 until 12:30, and Stroman's going to distribute until 1 o'clock p.m. So again, the only change is in the window from 9:30 to 12:30, and Stroman's going to stay open until 1 to distribute food. Meals are available to any child age 18 and younger, as well as special needs students up to age 21. The child does not need to attend the distribution site school, nor does the child need to be enrolled in Victoria ISD. Essentially, any student can come, and we will make sure that they get food. A menu of meals being served this coming week is available on our website. And the last piece about nutrition is, as a school district, we recognize that we have staff resources to help support the needs of our community. And so we've reached out to all of our sort of senior citizen service centers and offered some support in that area. So we're working with our senior citizens groups to help in whatever needs that they have. And certainly if there's any senior citizens groups out there that is in need of resources, volunteers or transportation, please reach out to VISD and we'll try to work with you too. We want to make sure that we're taking care of our senior citizens. I'm going to move on to technology. We're still in the process of analyzing the responses from all the parents regarding the need for devices and for internet hotspots. At this time, we'll be distributing between 2,000 and 2,500 devices and around 1,000 hotspots to our students. We're also working to distribute hotspots to our staff members who have no internet access at home. Just like when they're at school, student devices will be preloaded with the necessary learning tools, and we will have an internet filter installed on them to help protect the students while they're on the internet. If a student is eligible to receive a device or hotspot, their guardian will receive a phone call by April 1st to schedule their device pickup time. We're still working to place all of these calls, so if you haven't received a call yet, it's okay. We're still making those calls. Distribution will be drive up, and the guardians will be asked to sign a technology lending agreement before they are given the device. An example of this agreement is located on our online learning resources webpage, and we encourage all guardians to review that document before you come to pick up your device. The agreement outlines the responsible use and costs associated with damaged, lost, or stolen devices. Our biggest struggles to date as it relates to technology have been, number one, getting accurate information from everyone about what devices they have and what access to technology they have. A lack of resources, essentially, when it comes to technology. We, as an industry, education hasn't been planning for this event, obviously, so getting devices and time to get all this up and running has been a bit of a barrier for us. And then some shipping issues with the hotspots especially. So because so many schools around the state and frankly around the country are essentially doing the same thing that we are, there's a huge demand right now for hotspots, and so getting those and getting them shipped to us is a bit of an issue, but we're overcoming that slowly. Parents should call, and I'm going to give you a phone number now. Parents should call 361-788-2828 for any questions related to technology or the lending agreement fees. One other comment about technology, and we just solidified this a few minutes ago. We're going to have a second window for parents to request devices. So if you did not get a chance to request a device the first go around, but you still want to do that, at about 5 o'clock today, we're going to release a second window for parents to let us know if your students need access to a device, and we're going to leave that open until Wednesday. So if you still need a device, make sure that you get online today. We had to close that first window because we wanted to make sure we got devices ordered, of course, but now we're going to open up a second window. Now I'm going to pivot now to education and what's going to happen over the course of the next week. So remote instruction for all students officially begins Monday, March 30th. I know there's already been some interaction between our teachers and our students, and it's been great to see some of that, and the assignments are starting to come out, and students are engaged in that. But we are officially starting this on Monday, March 30th. Students were provided a packet of information for learning this week, either through drive-through pickup at the campus or by mail. Included in the packet was information on teacher and campus contacts, as well as communication tools that will be used by the teacher. If a mailed packet was returned to the school because of an incorrect address, then teachers were reaching out to contact the parents directly. At the elementary level, campuses have prepared 3-week learning packets. The packets contain a variety of activities, including student choice boards that will allow learning preferences and that can be completed online or in paper and pencil format. Their assignments can be turned in either by scanning or taking a picture of the assignment and emailing, or through an online method as instructed by the teachers. Any questions or concerns about assignments or student progress can be addressed by contacting the student's teacher directly. That's the best way to get accurate information. At the middle and high school, students will communicate with their teachers through the Microsoft Teams app. and students have already been doing this. The app will allow students to be in all their classes virtually. Students will use their VISD email logins to access any type of internet-supported device. Teachers will be providing choices for students to submit their assignments. Since students and teachers alike are learning team software, all students will have the first 2 weeks to complete the first week of assignments. So we're giving a little bit of grace time for everybody to learn this new technology. Guardians and students can call this number, 361-788-2828, if they need assistance with their password or their student email account. And this is a really important number. So for those students that haven't accessed yet their account, call this number, 361-788-2828. Students that are currently receiving gifted and talented 504 dyslexia or special education services will continue to receive those services. All teachers, elementary, middle, and high school, will have remote office hours from 9 to 11 and again from 1 to 3 each day, Monday through Friday. They can be reached by email or through the virtual sites that have been communicated from their teacher, such as Teams, Seesaw, Class Dojo, or Remind. We ask for your patience as we make this transition. Our learning environments are in this new remote format. And administrators, teachers, and students are all learning to use this technology and communication in ways that we've not experienced before. We are excited to stay in contact with our students, and as we chart these new waters, I just want to take a moment as I start to wrap up my comments here to recognize the vulnerability of the situation that we're all in right now. There's just a tremendous vulnerability in the recognition that we've never done this before. And we've never asked education to do this before, and we've never asked students to do this before, and we've never asked parents to do this before. So we're all in this tremendously vulnerable situation together. And I just want to honor that fact for a moment. And I also want to recognize the fact that when we're in these vulnerable situations and in uncharted waters, it adds a tremendous amount of stress to our system. And adding stress to the system adds stress to people. And so I'm going to make a couple of comments, one specifically directed at my students and one directed at parents. So for the students, please understand that for every adult in your life that's connected to education, and right now that's your teachers, but it's also your parents, recognize that we've never done this before. And so while you may experience some frustration over the next week or two, and that's okay, please also give just a little bit of grace to the adults in your life who are experiencing a tremendous amount of stress from everything else that's going on with being an adult right now. We're all in this period right now that we've never been in as a country. None of us have ever experienced this before, and so every person internalizes stress differently. So essentially to the kids, this is the give your parents a break moment, okay? They're going to be stressed in ways that they've not been stressed before, and they're doing their very, very best. And it's important that we have rules and guidelines, but also recognize that it's a very tough situation for them. For the parents, it's also true that our students are in a situation they've never experienced before. They don't know how to do this. They don't know how to do it right. They want to do it right. They don't know how to do it well, and they're going to try to work with you to the best of their ability as well, especially for our teenage students who are learning to be independent, and social lives are so incredibly important to them, and we've taken that away from them. And that's incredibly stressful for them and for their worlds and for their lives. And they want to do really, really well in school, but right now we don't exactly know how to do that. And so that's adding a tremendous amount of stress for them in their lives as well. So as parents, when we're feeling stress, and we're all feeling stress right now, we know throughout the community there's a tremendous amount of stress, we need to recognize that our kids are feeling that too. And I say all of that so that I can say this, that we all have stuff we need other people to do in our lives, and it's important that we communicate that stuff all the time. But I firmly believe, as certain as I'm sitting here, that when we put our relationships first, how we talk to one another as human beings changes. And so I'm just encouraging us all to remember in this highly stressful time that we need to put our relationships first. And if we do that, I think we can do this together, and we can be successful. I want to take as many questions as possible, and I know that there's tons of questions in the community. So the last thing I'm going to say is I'm going to ask you to join me in thought exchange and share those questions with us right now. I want to hear from any community member that has any question or any thought on your mind. So if you're watching on Facebook right now, we're going to post that link. You can click that link and you can share your thoughts directly with me. It's my commitment that I'll read every thought and I will read every question that's out there. If you're following me on Twitter, Q Shepherd at Twitter, I'll post that link as soon as I'm done speaking here. I know that our associations are posting that link on Facebook as well. So please share your thoughts and questions with me. If we have a few minutes here at the end of the time today, I'll even answer some of those questions. Thank you all.
Thank you, Dr. Shepherd. At this time, we'll open it up to any questions from media that's in the room. And if you're at home and you want to know what that link is, that's my.thoughtexchange.com/781501857.
Dr. Shepherd, you mentioned challenges that the school district is working to overcome as far as even getting the equipment needed, as well as finding an accurate number of families that are in need of hotspots or technology. How are you guys overcoming those challenges?
We've asked parents to reach out to us directly so we can hear that. We did a survey this past week, and we left that window open to ask folks what hotspots they needed. We looked into lots of different solutions. We looked at I think virtually every vendor that has a hotspot solution and the internet companies and what have you. We even looked at some of our apartment complexes where we know we have a higher density of students to see if we could put up Wi-Fi in those apartment complexes. So we're looking at multiple strategies about how we can address the need for hotspots. And again, the other piece is that we're going to open that window to address how many hotspots are needed moving forward. So we encourage folks to reach out to us directly.
Do you think that will all be in place by Monday when remote learning starts, or it'll kind of be an ongoing figuring it out to get it all stable?
So the question is, will this be in place by Monday for the remote learning to start? There will be elements in place by Monday, but as we get more devices and more hotspots in, we're going to deploy those as fast as we're getting them in. So as soon as we get them, we're going to get them out to our community.
Are teachers working still on campus in classrooms, or are they all remote now?
It's a great question. The question was, are teachers working on campus now, or are they working all remote? As we got towards the end of this week, really starting on Wednesday, as soon as a campus was ready to distribute packets out to parents, then we were encouraging them to do so. So Wednesday afternoon, we started distributing packets to parents, and as soon as a campus had the packets distributed, then we were encouraging staff members to go home. And we did the same thing at the district office level. We did the same thing with maintenance and transportation staff as well. So on Wednesday, we started sending folks home. On Thursday, we had a mass packet distribution happening throughout the community. And as those schools wrapped up on Thursday, then they went home and they were remote working. And then the last of our campuses finished up on Friday. So starting now this next week, we'll have a very, very limited staff checking in at the buildings just for essential services as needed. But essentially, buildings and campuses now are working almost entirely remotely.
Any other questions?
We have a question online asking how teachers and students can reach out to each other at the secondary level if they're still waiting for their device for the distribution later next week.
So how can parents reach
if they're
out?
waiting on their device, and
Sure.
how can they can't access Teams in the meantime, how can they communicate with the teacher and the student?
Reach out to the campus directly. That would be the first place I would go is make contact with the campus to make sure that the campus is aware of that. Each of the campuses is handling that communication differently, but we want to make sure that parents, if you are not able to access the curriculum at this point, please make sure that you reach out to the campus directly so that we can get the information to you that you need to have.
I have a few questions for Dr. McNeil if we're ready to transition to.
Yes,
Okay.
go ahead.
Can you talk a little bit more about this new rapid testing that is becoming available and hopefully here in Victoria?
Well, I just read about it a few minutes ago. It was just released yesterday. So this is kind of the thing that we've been talking about and we've really been looking for. now you can go to a clinic if you have flu symptoms, so flu swab you, and they'll tell you if you have flu A or flu B within 15 minutes. This test supposedly does the same thing for COVID. I haven't seen anything as far as accuracy or anything like that, but it's made by a company that makes a lot of other testing type devices, and it looks very reputable, and I think it's going to be a very important thing.
Do you have any estimate as soon as when those tests would be available and happening here?
Well, they specifically said that they were going to be able to manufacture 50,000 of them a day starting on Monday. I don't know when they'll start shipping them. I'm going to call them on Monday.
A different note, obviously you mentioned it's been a few days now since the first big cases here in Victoria County were announced, and there haven't been any since. Is that positive news, or what do you kind of foresee still in days to come?
Well, no new cases, of course, as everyone knows, is a positive thing, but I just don't want people to be lulled into a false sense of security that everything is good, because this disease is still rampantly spreading throughout the United States. So we all need to remain vigilant, and we'll continue to watch. We're going to continue to test. I expect to find more cases the more we test, because that's just the way it works. And for the most part, just don't let your guard down would be a good way of putting it.
We had heard that a UHV employee was maybe in contact with someone, a patient who was confirmed to have COVID be positive. Is that, can you confirm that at all, or give me details on how they're doing or that situation?
I have no knowledge of that. If it has happened, it hasn't been reported to me.
Okay. I'm curious if you can talk at all to guidelines for employers who, either essential or non-essential right now, as far as balancing with maybe an increase in cases over time here. There's a higher chance anyone in the community maybe will have come in contact with someone. What should people be doing if they are maybe an essential business and can't just already say work from home?
Well, there are some people that are considered essential businesses and things that are important for our infrastructure. So these people will continue to work as long as they can, of course. And what we'll do is basically just keep people 6 feet away from each other. I mean, you can notice even here, how y'all doing over there? They're 6 feet away. So we're doing that. Also, too, remember to wash your hands. And of course, the most important thing, if you do become sick, don't go to work. A lot of places are screening. I get screened a couple of times a day just coming in here. So we screen everybody. We're very careful. So we want to keep the virus out naturally. So yeah, that's just the things you can do. And those are all CDC guidelines, the things we've said since the very beginning. Cover your mouth if you sneeze, things like that.
As far as the testing site that opened on Tuesdays and Fridays, you said there's already some people lined up to be tested on Tuesday.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you know how many? Just out of curiosity?
I think the last count is that we had somewhere, well, this was from yesterday, we had at least 5 scheduled up until yesterday. So we had between 30 and 40 scheduled for the last day. So, but there's still a lot of other clinics testing, so there's a lot of testing being done.
If I could I answer just a couple of questions also from the exchange? There's a couple of really good questions there, and I'm happy to talk about them. The top thought is actually there's 2 different thoughts related to this. The question is, what about seniors and graduation? We have parents have vested so much into making this special for our child. Curious about what the plans are for that. It's a great question. Our working mantra at the ISD is that anytime we're going to make a decision, that we believe that the people who are going to be most impacted by that decision should have an opportunity to have their voice heard. So we're actually gearing up to run an exchange directly for our seniors. So if you're a senior student, you're going to get notification from us that we want you to participate in an exchange. And essentially, we're asking for your creative ideas. We recognize that this is uncharted territory, and we've never had to figure out what to do with graduation before, given that schools are closed right now. We know we need to think differently about graduation, and frankly, this is your graduation. We don't do it for us, we do it for you. So seniors, look out for that exchange. Throw any and every great idea that you have, and we will do our best to meet that need. That's my commitment to you. We'll do what we can. I recognize for the families, for the adults, that you have family that's potentially traveling in. As soon as we get some feedback from our students, we'll make a decision, and of course we'll communicate that to you so that families can plan travel accordingly. The other question is a good one, and I suspect that you've seen this from other communities about using buses to help distribute food and using some of our transportation staff to distribute food house to house throughout our community. We actually did a test run on that. So we walked some of our staff around several city blocks to see what it would take to distribute food to all of our families throughout our community. We walked it on foot, we drove it, did some time trials, if you will. Couple of things that came immediately to mind. Number one, there are places in our community that don't have sidewalks for walking, so it puts us a danger for some of our staff to do that. Number two, just the sheer number of square miles in our district makes it almost impossible for our transportation staff and any number of people to get out and walk around and distribute meals throughout the course of a day. And then the third part is that there were some serious safety concerns in some of our neighborhoods. Not safety as in I don't feel safe being in the neighborhood, but safety as in there's a guard dog in front of the house, and it's actually dangerous for somebody to get to, walk past this chain link fence and try to get to a door and distribute food. And we don't want to put people's personal safety at risk in trying to distribute food. So we ran some scenarios, but just couldn't find a way to make it work for everyone in a way that was equitable and also safe. So for now, we're going to stick to these school sites for folks to come and pick up food.
So since you are not using buses to do that distribution for various reasons, what are your bus drivers doing now, now that they don't have routes anymore or anything? Are y'all giving them 2 weeks of pay or something?
It's a good, the question is, are people being paid while we're in the shutdown mode and remote learning mode? Yes. Every staff member is being paid while we're in remote learning mode. We just feel like that would add further stress to the system to start putting people's pay in jeopardy. So every staff member is being paid at this time.
Any other additional questions? Okay. Thank you guys all for your time and tuning in today. Again, I just want to point out that accurate information is very important in this event, and I just wanted to thank all our news media in the room for helping us get that out. If it's released on our Victoria County Health Department Facebook page, the City of Victoria page, or on victoriatxoem.org, it's accurate information for Victoria County and directly from your local officials. Again, that website is victoriatxoem.org. We also have our COVID-19 hotline that's running Monday through Friday from 8 to noon and 1 to 5. And that is 361-580-5796. And then we will be airing this on the Suddenlink Channel 15 or 115 tonight at 6 p.m. Following the closing of this briefing, a recording will also be aired on Kix, Q92, Jack FM, and Club stations. And for anyone with unmet needs, this could be things like food, rent assistance, or diapers, please call 211 and you'll be connected to somebody that can help you out locally. The Harris Center has also activated a 24/7 mental health call line to provide trauma-informed support and psychological first aid related to COVID-19. That number is 833-251-7544. Lastly, to reiterate what that link was that Dr. Shepard will be doing the thought exchange on is my.thoughtexchange.com/781-501-857. And I believe you said you'd leave that up for a day or two.
We will.
Okay, perfect. Again, just in case somebody jumped in a little bit late, there are no new cases of COVID-19 in Victoria County. We remain at 3, and we are not under a curfew or stay-at-home order. Our local officials believe the current measures we are taking should sufficiently slow the spread of the virus here while allowing us to sufficiently balance community and business needs. Judge Zeller and Mayor McCoy are in constant contact with our health officials and command staff, and they continue to evaluate all relevant information to COVID-19. They are prepared to act if and when additional actions are in the best interest of our community. Thank you guys all for your time.